All right, let's start with the broadsheet newspapers this morning. We're going to start with the Irish Independent sports section back page for you. And the lead story here is about John Kiley saying that he has a box of hate mail at home, and this is just a common theme emerging now. It turns out that every county seems to have its psychopathic supporters. I haven't played well enough when it's counted, admits McIlroy. This is Rory McIlroy ahead of the USPGA, the final major of the year. A little bit underwhelming, the level of hype in the build-up to the USPGA. Granted, it is the fourth major and people care about it much less, but this is because it's not on TV.
I was just about to say it. I didn't want to address the elephant in the room here. Old man Nathan last night tweeting about how he's missing all the golf coverage on Sky. He was like, well, I've got to look at this. We've got to hand it to Sky Sports. We've got to hand it to Sky Sports when it comes to hyping up these events. They do a bloody good job, and there is no hype around this because 11 Sports have it. Who knows, 11 Sports, when we turn it on this weekend, might have the most amazing montages of all time, and we might suddenly become fans, and it might just require this. But the USPGA, who gives a crap at the moment?
Yeah, it's a fair point. William Marr is the favourite for tip as Wexford players try to keep Davy. This is Davy still hasn't made his mind up yet about whether or not he's staying. Loads of good stuff in that as well. That Michael Verney has the John Kiley story from that one. The back page of the Times, they also have the same story. Gary Doyle, their chief sports writer there, saying Kiley hits at anonymous hate mailers. The Limerick boss second to reveal abusive letters. There's now been like a whole kind of slew of intercounty managers who've said that they've had it. Chelsea agrees £72 million Kepa fee. So this is the Athletic Bilbao goalkeeper, who's 23, the sub-goalkeeper for Spain. Kepa Arrizabalaga.
Well done. Not going to dispute that pronunciation.
No, that was terrible. Arrizabalaga. And 80 million quid is the buyout clause. Real Madrid almost bought him for 20 at Christmas. He renegotiated his contract, put the buyout clause in. Chelsea now in desperate need for a goalkeeper urgently because Thibaut Courtois hasn't shown up for training. He's getting completely screwed by the transfer window. And, he's only going to get 80 grand a week.
Is he?
I mean, I'm like, no, you're paying 80 million. Any other player who's getting 80 million is not getting 80 grand a week. They're getting 250 grand a week. I'm getting 250 grand a week, or you can go screw yourselves.
It's yesterday I started to notice kind of a bubbling on Twitter, a couple of think pieces about how the Premier League had changed its ways, about how we weren't going to pay these obscene amounts of money in the Premier League anymore. The teams were just sick of paying over the odds. Lo and behold, those pieces have clearly been blown way too soon because we're into the last 48 hours of the transfer window, and shit's going to get real, I think, is the technical term. There will be crazy fees splashed out like that one.
The Kilmacud Hurling Sevens were launched in Croker yesterday, and Niall Corcoran was doing interviews, and he was asked about Anthony Dalo, and you would have thought that he would have been in the running for the Waterford job. He's like, no, he wants the Clare job. I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm sure he wants the Clare job. And it's like, well, that's a cat amongst the pigeons. So I'm sure he's delighted this morning waking up going, thanks, man. Training at Kilmacud will be interesting this week. Me Too is the headline on the Examiner. Kiley, I have a box at home too. My wife vets it and doesn't let anything too serious come my way, is the story over the news that John Kiley has hate mail.
That's that's incredible, I find, having a filter there in your own home. Like, a lot of people would say when the mail comes in, obviously it's, I would imagine, very, very harsh and very hurtful, no matter who it's addressed to, no matter who's reading it. But a lot of people would say, I wouldn't mind if it was about me, but if it's about my partner, if it's about my family, whatever it is, that makes it a lot worse. And you can only imagine what John Kiley's wife has to go through when she's reading some of that stuff, to see that written about somebody else, to see it written about her husband. It must be absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, like, I wonder, at some point, does everybody need to collectively say, right, we're going to talk about this week and then we're never going to mention it again? Because if you're the type of person who's writing these letters, then you want to know that they're landing. Sure. You want to know that they're having an impact. You want to know that your little bit of hate, your bit of trolling has had a proper effect on the people involved. And unfortunately it has, and it does. At some point though, do you turn around and go, I'm never mentioning this again. This is our dirty little secret here. And what we will do is we'll send them all to the cops. And as a matter of course, it all gets reported to the cops, and that they are tasked with doing something about it. That's one outcome. Unless the other outcome is that, like, they send them to people like us, and we read them out in funny voices and make fun of the complete clowns who are doing this.
Yeah, hello Whiskers. It's actually written on my screen here yesterday. Joe McMahon letter we read out in yesterday's show. But just like a point, kind of tangentially to that. Like we talk about this with Fitzmaurice in it about like he doesn't name the player who got the letter in the Kerry team, but does say it was like water off a duck's back to that player. And like I often think that a lot of GAA players seem like it's water off a duck's back to them because naturally when they're playing their sport, they're very confident in that arena because they're doing the thing that they are their best, that they're in their best self when they're on the pitch in Croke Park or wherever it is. So you look at that person and you're like, that's a very confident individual, when in actual fact it might not be a confident individual at all. They're just very confident at executing the skills of Gaelic games because they're one of the top 15 players in their counties at doing so. And you don't know what's actually going on behind what is essentially a front, that confident front. Now thankfully this Kerry player is naturally a person who doesn't suffer with any self-esteem issues or doesn't suffer from a lack of confidence, according to Eamon Fitzmaurice, that it didn't get to him too badly. But imagine if it did. I mean, like there is, when you talk about like the young male population in this country and the horrendous mental health situation we find ourselves in this country, and we certainly have over the last 10 years, like this sort of stuff has unbelievably serious repercussions, potentially. And to think that you can target a GAA player because they seem cocky on the pitch or something like that is disgusting, really.
You have to assume that the mental health issues of the people involved writing the letters as well, that they are...
But that is also true.
Like, anyway, Kieran Shannon is talking about the seriousness with which Kerry people take their football. He quotes a story from Paul Galvin's book.
It's a great one.
Galvin's buying some hardwood flooring after an All-Ireland defeat, 2011, and an old man comes up to him and grabs him by the arm and does nothing, just kind of stares at him incoherent with like tears and sadness. And Gavin to kind of like, okay, it's fine. Tears
forming in his eyes.
But later goes, what the hell was that? That's not normal. That's not like, that's just... And Kieran Shannon's pointing out, like, who the hell in Kerry do you think you are? Come on, calm down. What's wrong with you? Now I'm in two minds about this, right? The Real Madrid fans are notoriously the hardest fans in the world. They'll get the white hankies out after like a 0-0 draw. You could win 3 Champions Leagues like Zidane has done and not be successful enough for the club hierarchy to want to keep you because you haven't won the leagues at the same time. And that level of demand and expectation, that sets the bar so high that consistent excellence is all that they will accept. And there's part of me that wonders if Kerry, having the roughest type of fucking animals as their supporters, is actually one of the things that helps to set the bar. I don't know.
It's an interesting theory. I don't know either. It does seem in recent years it's had the opposite effect, that when you listen to some things that Fitzmaurice has said, something that Mikey Sheehy said earlier in the year about the lack of support, that it's all well and good if the supporters are there and will be behind you up until the final whistle, but like fans streaming out after 50 minutes in Killarney on Saturday night and stuff like that, it does seem that there is a clear divide between the Kerry kind of person and the Kerry supporter.
They wanted to beat the traffic. What were they doing living in Killarney early?
Well, to be fair, traffic is a bit of an issue in the town, but like we also get into this in the piece as well about the divide there.
The furthest they have to go is an hour.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's no need to be leaving that game early. I agree. But the point you make about like that, the Paul Galvin excerpt from his book is rather humorous, and it is kind of an extreme example of if you mention 2011 to anybody from Kerry, like just even the mere mention of 2011, it's like, oh, some X and Y happened in 2011. You went to that wedding in 2011 or whatever. It's like, don't mention 2011. That really bad thing happened in 2011 when we went to Croke Park and we didn't come away with Sam Maguire. It's just, it kind of comes with some sort of like reminiscent of being in the trenches or something. If you mention to a war veteran what it was like in the Somme, it's like so mentioning to any Kerry person what it was like in Croke Park.
Exactly, you do take it too seriously. You've just compared a defeat in a football match with one of the worst atrocities in human history.
Yes.
And you've done it without irony or without any sense of it. Like, of course, it's our own personal Somme. Right, so the Irish Times this morning, Patient McElroy feeling upbeat about his chances, but Rory's always upbeat, so show us on Sunday, Rory. That's what we're saying to you now. Confident Woods still fired by major ambition, so there's more from the golf there.
Good takedown from Darragh O'Shea of Galway, actually, in the Irish Times this morning. Column.
Go on.
I might just grab it off you there for a sec. Just a couple of lines. Kevin Walsh, if you're interested, this sort of stuff can go up in your dressing room wall at the weekend. He makes a great comparison here, actually. He's like, they're a bit like the manager fella Robert De Niro fires in the movie Casino. Listen, he says, if you don't know you were being scammed, you're too effing dumb to keep this job. And if you did know, you were in on it. Either way, you're out. That's in reference to Galway against Monaghan at the weekend. He says, somewhere along the way, it looks like they convinced themselves that this was a game that didn't matter. How they could do that when the price of losing is a game against the Dubs is beyond me. I don't think there's any chance that they can turn that mindset around in the space of a week. Maybe the cold, harsh truth of it is that Galway are a decent team, but not All-Ireland contenders. He also says that they haven't solved the Damien Comer problem since he rampaged around Croke Park against Dublin in the league final. He hasn't had too many standout games. A few times on Saturday, you could see him back in the Galway defence trying to stand up Carl O'Connell or Ryan McInnesby and get a tackle in. That's not what Galway should be trying to do. So Damien Comer's a problem for Galway, he says. They're not good enough to win the All-Ireland, he says. And maybe there was nothing to do with the mindset in Salt Hill on Saturday. Maybe they're just not good enough. So strong words from Darragh O'Shea about Galway at the weekend.
That's interesting. I wonder... if Advertise runs in Phoenix, he wins, says Mead. This is the Phoenix Stakes this weekend. Aidan O'Brien has 10 entries and has won it 16 times, but he's not going to win it if Advertise comes over from the UK, according to Martin Mead, who reckons that no matter who Aidan O'Brien runs in that race, he's going to be smacked down by Advertise, which is interesting, because you can't really influence the horse, can you? The horse isn't listening going, uh-oh, and the other horses aren't going, oh, geez, Advertise is coming over, I'm screwed now. Smack talking racing is like, I'd like to see a bit more of this.
Yeah, the trainer should put that on the stable wall and say, listen, look at what these efforts have been writing about you all week.
That'd be class. And then Daydream Believer, Aussie ready to claim a second USPGA title. This is a bit of in and out form so far for Jason Day over the years, so we might talk a bit more about the betting ahead of that. Today is Wednesday, so it'd have to be on tomorrow
morning.
Yeah.
Big news this morning, back page of the Irish Daily Mail. I want to leave. Pogba has his heart set on a move to Barca. It's an exclusive here by Chris Wheeler. Paul Pogba telling his Manchester United teammates that he's desperate to leave Old Trafford for Barcelona. We'll continue that in just a moment because the Sun also have it. You've also got Thomas lapping it up in Berlin. Thomas Barr qualifying for the final of the 400 metres hurdles with a brilliant run yesterday. He says he can get even better, so watch out for a potential medal tomorrow evening in Berlin. And Limerick boss Carly also a victim of hate mail. And just to go back to that Pogba story, because they lead with it on the back of the Sun as well. Pogba's shock ultimatum: 200k a week pay rise or let me leave now. Star tells United pals he wants to go. So
how much does he want? 600 grand a week?
He wants £380,000 a week.
So he's only on 180 at the moment?
Only on 180 at the moment.
Deal.
He wants to get closer to United's top earner, Alexis Sanchez.
Come on.
And in fairness, when Alexis Sanchez is your bargaining chip, you've got a pretty good tool there.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, you'll never guess who's quoted in this piece.
Friends of Paul Pogba?
No, Mino Raiola.
Oh.
So it's one of these sort of last 48 hours of the transfer window story. Manchester United in the back of the Herald as well. Jose's under Martial law. Deal for Alderweireld now hangs in the balance. There's a 20-page Premier League pullout in there as well. The Mirror is Jeepers Keepers. Blues smashed the world record with a £71 million deal for Bilbao stopper as AWOL Courtois gets his dream move to Madrid.
Maybe. The deal hasn't been done. It's not it's not signed, sealed and delivered.
It looks fairly...
Well, let's wait and
the
see.
Kepa move or the Courtois move?
The Kepa.
Yeah, it looks pretty...
The representatives are meeting. Let's just wait and see exactly what happens.
I think that one's going to happen.
If they're only offering an 80 grand a week and Alexis Sanchez is getting 380 grand a week, I'm like, no, I want more. Get me more. They're spending 80 million quid in cash to, over 10 years or amortization, whatever. But anyway, give me more money.
Yeah, it would be hilarious if he joined and Courtois didn't get his move and suddenly you've got a £71 million goalkeeper on the bench. Or maybe Thibaut Courtois on the bench.
Yeah,
just the worst sort of purgatory.
Thibaut on the bench.
Back page of the Star is €80 million goal Kepa. Chelsea to break world record for rookie Spanish stopper. Kylie says my wife vets any abuse. Pog move plot fury. Just a collection of words. And Relief as Bar makes final. And then a couple of the UK back pages this morning. Asher Smith and Hughes speed to British double. That's the Great Britain sprint duo securing you're both 100-metre titles. So a brilliant day for British sprinting yesterday. And Emirates exit. Kroenke is the victor in Arsenal power game. You've also got Team GB leading the way on the Daily Telegraph. Dazzling Dina. Asher Smith takes European 100-metre gold in British record. And Chelsea break world record for keeper Kepa.
Okay, so one final newspaper for you is the Irish News, and this is Malachy O'Rourke making the case that Tyrone are not the bogey team of Monaghan, despite a lot of evidence to the contrary. Certainly when they get out of Ulster, that's Malachy O'Rourke. I mean, this week is a very tense week, no doubt, for Monaghan because they are up against Tyrone. We've got Marca as well for you. Puertas giratorias.
What does that mean, Ger?
Revolving doors.
How the hell do you know that?
How did I know that?
Puerta means door.